Port Charles is about to face one of its most emotional and shocking mysteries yet, as secrets surrounding Huntington's disease begin to surface in ways nobody expected. For weeks, whispers have been spreading quietly through the hospital corridors, private family conversations, and tense confrontations behind closed doors. But now the truth may finally be impossible to hide, especially after Britt stumbles onto a discovery that could change several lives forever. What began as a simple moment of concern quickly transformed into something much more dangerous. Britt noticed unusual behavior, inconsistent medical records, and emotional reactions that simply did not add up. At first, she tried convincing herself that she was reading too deeply into things. After everything she has experienced in Port Charles, Britt knows better than anyone else how easy it is for fear and suspicion to cloud judgment. Still, something continued bothering her. The deeper Britt looked into the situation, the more troubling details she uncovered. Small inconsistencies started forming a disturbing pattern. Conversations abruptly stopped when she entered a room. Important files seemed to disappear at the worst possible moments. Certain people appeared unusually nervous whenever the subject of Huntington's disease was mentioned. That was when Britt realized somebody might be hiding a devastating truth. As tensions rise across Port Charles, several families are beginning to feel the emotional pressure. Huntington's disease is not just a medical issue. It carries fear, uncertainty, and emotional trauma that can affect entire generations. The possibility that someone may have hidden important information has already created growing panic among those closest to the situation. Britt understands the seriousness better than most. Her medical background makes it impossible for her to ignore the warning signs. At the same time, her personal experiences have taught her how destructive secrets can become when they remain buried for too long. Determined to uncover the truth, Britt quietly begins investigating on her own. She starts reviewing records, replaying old conversations in her mind, and questioning why certain people appeared desperate to avoid discussing the issue openly. Every answer only seems to create more questions. Soon, Britt makes a discovery that leaves her completely stunned. Hidden among confidential documents is information suggesting that someone may have known about Huntington's risk for far longer than anyone realized. The implications are enormous. If the information is accurate, it means multiple people may have been manipulated, misled, or protected from the truth for reasons that are still unclear. Britt immediately faces a painful dilemma. Does she reveal what she found and risk destroying lives, or stay silent until she understands the full story? The emotional burden becomes overwhelming as Britt struggles to decide what the right thing truly is. She knows that exposing the truth could shatter relationships, ignite family conflict, and create lasting emotional damage. But keeping quiet could be even worse if innocent people continue living in fear without understanding what is really happening. Meanwhile, tensions between several key figures in Port Charles continue growing stronger. Certain characters begin acting increasingly defensive as rumors spread throughout the community. Friends who once trusted each other now exchange suspicious glances. Family members begin questioning old decisions and hidden conversations from the past. Many are starting to wonder whether the lie surrounding Huntington's disease was created out of fear, protection, or pure desperation. One person in particular seems especially determined to prevent the truth from coming out. Britt quickly notices how nervous and unpredictable this individual becomes whenever questions are raised. Emotional confrontations become more frequent, and several heated arguments nearly expose everything before the full story is ready to emerge. But secrets in Port Charles never stay hidden forever. As Britt digs deeper, she begins realizing that the situation may be even more complicated than she first believed.
The issue is not simply about one medical condition. It is connected to years of emotional pain, family pressure, guilt, and impossible choices that have haunted certain people for a very long time. Some characters genuinely believed they were protecting their loved ones by hiding the truth. Others may have been trying to protect themselves from consequences they feared would destroy their lives. But no matter the reason, Britt realizes the deception has already caused enormous emotional damage. The pressure becomes even more intense when rumors start reaching the hospital staff. Suddenly, people who were never directly involved begin speculating about who might be affected and what secrets are still hidden beneath the surface. Anxiety spreads rapidly throughout Port Charles as everyone searches for answers. At the center of the storm stands Britt, carrying information powerful enough to change everything. The emotional weight begins affecting her deeply. She remembers her own complicated past and the painful mistakes she has made throughout her life. Britt understands better than anyone that people often hide the truth because they are terrified of losing the people they love. But she also knows that lies have consequences. As the days pass, Britt becomes increasingly convinced that the truth must finally come out, no matter how painful it may be. She believes people deserve honesty, especially when it concerns something as life-changing as Huntington's disease. Still, exposing the secret will not be easy. Several people may fight desperately to keep the information buried. Some fear public judgment, others fear losing control over their families and relationships, and some are terrified that the truth could permanently alter the future they worked so hard to protect. The situation reaches a breaking point when Britt confronts one of the key figures connected to the mystery. The emotional conversation quickly becomes explosive. Accusations begin flying as years of buried resentment finally rise to the surface. Britt demands to know why the truth was hidden. The response shocks her even more than the original discovery. Instead of denying the deception, the person admits that fear played a major role in every decision they made. They believed revealing the truth earlier would destroy lives, ruin relationships, and create unbearable emotional suffering for everyone involved. But Britt refuses to accept that explanation completely. She argues that people have the right to make informed choices about their own lives and futures. Keeping such a serious secret only delayed the pain while making the eventual fallout far more destructive. The confrontation leaves both sides emotionally devastated. Meanwhile, other residents of Port Charles begin noticing that something major is happening behind the scenes. Tension spreads through families, friendships, and romantic relationships as whispers continue growing louder. Several characters start piecing together clues on their own, creating even more pressure surrounding the hidden truth. At the same time, Britt faces growing concern about what could happen after the revelation becomes public. She knows the fallout will not remain limited to one family. The emotional consequences could ripple across Port Charles, affecting countless relationships and future storylines. Some people may never forgive the deception. Others may struggle to cope with the emotional reality once the truth is fully exposed. And some could become determined to blame Britt herself for bringing everything into the open. Despite the risks, Britt ultimately realizes she cannot continue staying silent. The burden has become too heavy, and the emotional damage caused by secrecy continues growing every day. She knows the truth will eventually emerge one way or another. The only question now is who will survive the fallout once it does. As Port Charles prepares for the explosive revelation, viewers can expect emotional confrontations, heartbreaking confessions, and shocking betrayals that could permanently alter several relationships. Trust will be tested like never before. Family bonds may shatter under the pressure, and hidden fears that remained buried for years could finally come crashing into the light. But perhaps the biggest question of all is whether the people involved can ever rebuild their lives after such a devastating secret finally comes undone. Because once the truth about Huntington's disease is fully exposed, nothing in Port Charles may ever be the same again. And Britt's stunning discovery could become the spark that changes everything forever.